I guess.
There you go.
Tucker
times have changed.
Yeah, meanwhile, Tucker Carlson's here, not on pot, drug-free, has been for a while. Co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend. You're the same Tucker Carlson, right?
Yeah, because that's the one problem American high school kids have, not enough weed. They just don't have access to it.
You've been saying that over and over again.
Yeah,
we
really.
could solve that.
All right, Tucker, what do you think? We're talking about the #1 story in America. As surprisingly, it now is the Clinton cash, and it was revealed yesterday that the Associated Press, I think they worked for years trying to get the Clinton Foundation and the Secretary of State, former Secretary of State, to reveal, who she met with. As it turns out, that about half the people she met with or talked to on the phone actually gave money to the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah.
We should have known about this from the press, but for the most part, the press has just given the Clintons a pass, and this goes back
we got it from
decades.
the AP, right?
No, but the AP tried to get that information, Tucker, 3 years ago. They were stonewalled, and now, after suing, they finally got the information.
Well, the AP is not the only news organization in the world, and by the way, good for them. It's a shocking story, and it puts into stark relief the corruption of the Clinton Foundation and the nexus between that and the State Department. But here, it's a bigger story in two fronts. First, it discredits not simply Hillary Clinton, but the U.S. government. America is great because it's not corrupt. That's why people come here, because it's an island of honest government in a sea, a global sea of corruption. And this discredits that. It is clear from this and a bunch of other stories that have broken in the last couple of months that Hillary Clinton was selling access to the U.S. government while Secretary of State. The second point it makes is that the press has proven incapable of covering Hillary. Hillary Clinton is up in the polls as of this morning. So the question is, in less than 80 days, if she's elected president, how is a press corps, which is rooting for her in the most partisan possible way, going to cover a Hillary Clinton administration?
It's unbelievable. And Tucker, I'll add a couple of things. We have not, it's amazing when Donald Trump does not make the news in negative ways. People are able to look at Hillary Clinton for a long time.
That's right.
He's been swamping her bad news and doing her a huge favor. But Brian Fallon pushed back on the stats that Steve just said. He said it's outrageous to misrepresent Secretary Clinton's basis for meetings with these individuals. He called it a distorted portrayal of how often she crossed paths with individuals connected to the charitable donations to the Clinton Foundation.
And it's distorted because they did not release all of the records. They only released half of them. If Brian Fallon's got a problem with that, just release all the records.
Well, then let's get specific. Then in the case, for example, of like an Indonesian businessman who is referred to Hillary Clinton's office by Doug Band, who's her husband's body man and longtime aide at the Clinton Foundation, when Houman Abedin takes the email and sets up that meeting, what's the other basis for that meeting? I mean, there are billions of people in the world, but she meets 55% of the people she meets with donated to her family's foundation. I mean, like, what's the explanation? And they haven't proffered one.
Tucker, if you ask James Carville, who we're going to have later on the show, he's a big supporter of the Clintons. He says that if the foundation is shut down, like Donald Trump has suggested, then people are going to die. But if you look at the stats, in 2013, the Clinton Foundation raised $140 million. They only spent $9 million on direct grants.
That's the number right there. That's exactly right, Ainsley. That is the number right there. Out of $140 million, according to their tax returns, $9 million went to direct grants. So the point isn't simply that it's corrupt, it's that it's ineffective. It's a bad charity. If you had a choice between giving to the Clinton Foundation or the tens of thousands of other charities around the world, why would you give to that one, which has a less reliable rate of helping people than almost any other I've ever heard of?
What's the number that you kind of look for? You want to look for like 85%? You want the money that the charity makes to go back to the people.
So you should ask James, whom I love, name specific ways that the Clinton Foundation has actually helped people, not just convincing drug companies to lower the rate on AIDS drugs, but what aid have they directly given to the needy, the suffering, the sick in this world? And I'll bet you you'll get a blank stare.
Tucker, this all reminds us, and you're old enough to remember when Bill Clinton and his administration sold off the Lincoln bedroom to donors and stuff like that.
Very well.
Should this really surprise us? This is all about access, just as that was. Only back in those days, it was just millions of dollars. Now we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yes, but see, the tragedy is it's not just about the Clintons. It's about the rest of us. It's our government. The legacy we can be most proud of is the legacy of clean government. Again, that's what makes us distinct in the world. And they're polluting it to their benefit.
It's something. Meanwhile, somebody had a smartphone out and took a picture during a training session at the Army. What they did was they had different threats to our national security regarding cyber. Who is a threat? These are some of the insiders. You've got Nadal Hassan. You've got now Chelsea Manning, Snowden, the Navy Yard shooter. You've got David Petraeus. And then they put up a picture of Hillary Clinton as an insider threat to our national security. And apparently this is an actual still image from that particular presentation.
I think the point they're making is that if elected, she'll pack the Supreme Court, turning it to the left for generations, and throw open the borders to the rest of the world, and that's a direct threat. Right. I think that may have been the point there. It's obviously a mistake. But look, if we did this, if Fox News had put up that graphic, can you imagine? There would be a State Department investigation. There would be the FCC. Right. You know, every alphabet soup agency in America would be looking into Fox if we did that. We didn't.
Tucker, the thing is, though, what she did was so egregious, they want to make sure nobody else in the Army who handles intelligence handles things like that. Yeah. That wasn't an official move. It was somebody trying to get a point across. Hey, real quick, Tucker, before we let you go, Reince Priebus came out last night. We know he's rooting for Donald Trump, but he said that by Labor Day, this thing will be tied. Do you agree?
You know, it's entirely possible. I mean, this is the phenomenon that I've experienced. You probably have, too. You meet people who either don't know a single person who's voting for Hillary or don't know a single person who's voting for Donald Trump. And that's kind of it. Everybody in our world, in the media, in government, in politics, lives in neighborhoods where not a single person is voting for Donald Trump. Now, does that distort the outcome of our predictions? Yeah, it probably does. To what extent? I don't know. But I think the actual number is probably a little different from the numbers we're seeing.
Yeah, well, politics can change in the drop of a hat. So if he has a few more good weeks, Labor Day is, what, a week and a half away?
Right. And if the press continues to push the Clintons on the Clinton cash,
it's possible.
It could take a toll.
It's not the press, it's the AP.
Right.
You know, the New York Times.
Good point.
Don't worry about no one else is paying any attention.
It's actually on the cover of the Washington Post today, so, you know, progress.
Yeah, don't worry. Her emails are so boring, she's embarrassed.
Right.
I saw her on Jimmy
And
Kimmel.
all their conversations are about grandkids.
Yeah, it's
and if you need a jar of pickles open, she can do it.
All right. Tucker, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.
See you. All right, more than 200 years ago, a newly independent America faced its greatest test since the Revolution, when British forces attacked Washington, leaving the White House in flames, as well as the Capitol building. But out of the ashes emerged an unexpected hero. Then First Lady Dolly Madison escaped the fire with President James Madison's most important documents, including the famed portrait of George Washington, which still hangs in the White House today. And joining us right now to talk about this with a brand new book, presidential historian Jane Hampton Cook, who wrote the book, The Burning of the White House. Jane, how can something that happened so horrific then help us now?
Well, there's several ways. You know, the British military was terrorizing the East Coast. They were burning little towns, and we were just ignoring it.
Over the past 15 months, we had no military to stop these invasions.
That's right. We didn't form a military to go and say, hey, and to fight. And so the British said, hey, we can get away with this. We can take their capital. And that's exactly what happened. They came and they attacked and they burned.
And originally we're being divided. Massachusetts came down and said, hey, President Madison, I'd pretty much like to leave. I'd like to be back with the British. I'm not really liking how this war is going. You talk about a fracture. That's a fracture.
It was a fracture. And the British thought that they could sever America into two countries and take New England back into Old England. And so we really had to pull it together. After the burning of the White House, people came together. It was an electric revival of national spirit, according to one congressman. And 16,000 people showed up in Baltimore 3 weeks after the burning of the White House to defend Baltimore, and they sent the British packing.
And guess what we got out of that? The Fort McHenry stands. The flag was still there. Francis Scott Key observes it, writes it. It's a poem. It ends up being our national anthem. Ultimately, we turn it all around with the Battle of New Orleans. We signed the Treaty of Ghent. We end the war in a draw.
That's right, exactly. We didn't lose anything. We kept our sovereignty as a country, which was really significant.
What does it show you about the American spirit that you want to convey today?
Well, I think, you know, when you look at Louisiana and the loss there, just the fact that the Madisons grieved, America grieved after this loss, and then they came back and said, we're going to rebuild, we're going to be bigger and better, and we're going to pull it together.
After 9/11, everybody came together, Republicans and Democrats. We're not together now, especially in this war on terror that we could have had an attack in Virginia over the weekend. It happened. San Bernardino, Orlando, it happened. 9/11, it happened. Fort Hood, it happened. But yet we're not coming together besides 9/11.
Well, and I think that's because we haven't really focused on the president's not talking about the ideology behind what's driving our enemy, and he's sort of turning the other looking away from it. And that's what happened 200 years ago. The administration looked away until we had a catastrophe and had to pull it together.
The president had to run from the White House. The burning of the White House. We just scratched the surface, but it's a good message for today.
It's a great message for today.
All right, Jen Hampton-Cook, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right, coming up straight ahead, we change gears. It's one of the most common questions Americans ask. How do I save money but still have fun? Angel just asked that. Our financial expert has the one thing you can do to make that happen. And the Raging Cajun. James Carville says closing the Clinton Foundation would have
elected to the White House. Those are your headlines. A lot going on this morning.
No kidding.
We'll keep you posted on it all.
All right, Heather, thank you very much.
Thanks, Heather.
All right, in front of our world headquarters, we've got James Carville, the former Bill Clinton campaign strategist, author of a new book called We're Still Right, They're Still Wrong, the Democrats' Case for 2016. Good morning to you, James.
Good morning. Good morning.
Great to have
What
you.
a nice day here in New York City.
Beautiful.
I think that your wife had won you over and said, hey, I got news for you. I'm now a Republican. Mary Matlin.
I'm 72 years old. I'm not changing wives, political party, or sexual orientation. I'm pretty much taking what I got into the house
Good, because
now.
we only have two bathrooms.
We're gonna finish this thing out.
That's why advertisers focus on the younger generation, because you can change their minds. But you get to a certain age, no change.
All right, James, let's talk about politics. The cover of the New York Post today, your friend Hillary Clinton, who wants to be president of the United States, it's all about the AP story, and it talks about how half the people who wound up talking to her or saw her wound up donating millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation. The Post calls it dough.
85 of 156.
This does not, it does not look good.
Well, let's start. The featured person in the thing was a man named Muhammad Yunus. So just so Muhammad Yunus won the Nobel. He is the person who started micro-lending, which has probably helped more people in poverty than any concept he did. He won a Nobel Peace Prize in 2008. He won the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and he won a Congressional Gold Medal.
Was he a donor?
He was a donor. Not only that, he came to Arkansas in 1983. He's almost a lifelong friend of the Clintons and started a micro-lending project there. He was being repressed by the government of Bangladesh. And so the State Department can't help a Nobel Prize winning economist who's being subject to oppression by the host government. Who can they help? And by the way, the Clinton Foundation uses him a lot, but they do a lot of micro-lending. And this is where a farmer would maybe borrow equivalent of $70 to build a weir or to have a ditch to be flooded.
You pull out a guy that's obviously done tremendous things, and he is listening to that.
Another one I know.
But this is 85, so over 50%.
I only know the names they gave me. Danny Abraham. Danny Abraham, I think, is about 92 years old. I know Danny well. He is the foremost advocate for peace in the Middle East. Danny has spent hundreds of millions of dollars on trying to promote peace in the Middle East. He's a lifelong friend of mine. I'm going
but
down the list.
But you can't go to 85 people. How about the perception? How about the perception?
I'm going by the names that I know.
But you can't go. We don't have enough time to go to 85 people.
No, Steve Schwarzman. Is that one of the largest foundations? I happen to have met Steve one time. I am pretty sure he's a Republican.
James, everyone's for helping and charity. It's just, it's odd that the lines here are muddy. You have the Clinton Foundation and the State Department.
It looks like they were selling access.
Let's go. The Clintons have taken. Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton have never taken a penny from the foundation. In fact, they've given them millions of dollars. The board of the foundation serves without pay. It is a 5-star rated foundation by Charity Watch. It is one of the best run foundations in the world. Now, the idea that people are involved in the foundation are also involved with public-private partnerships around the world. That's one of the things that they do. So, of course, and this does not count, as the list has pointed out, it doesn't count heads of state or people from government.
James, but this is the second consecutive day of getting these stories of Cheryl Mills calling the COO of the foundation, leaving 140 messages back and forth. Doesn't it bother you, the commingling of both, when she signed an ethics agreement not to do that?
It doesn't, again, she doesn't take a penny. They don't get a cent out of it. They've never taken a
influence. All right, listen, Donald Trump was asked about this last night at Sean Hannity's town hall. Listen to what he says about it, and then we'll get your reaction.
It's disgusting. It shouldn't be allowed. What's going on with Hillary Clinton, there is no justice in this country. There is no justice in this country. Zero. And for her to have
there's supposed to be James.
All right, go ahead.
With what she's done,
he's still talking.
With deleting 33,000 emails, you can imagine what was on those emails. It is so sad, and the whole world is looking, and the whole world is laughing at the United States.
There's supposed to be a firewall between the State Department and the Clinton Foundation, and it just looks like there wasn't.
Well, in many instances, the Crown Prince of Bahrain, which is probably the most important strategic ally in the Middle East. We have the Fifth Fleet, I think, is there. And she said he got the meeting through normal channels. If you see him, tell him hello. All right. I think the Clinton Foundation is one of the great, like 1/3 of the people with pediatric AIDS in the world get their medication through the Clinton Foundation. They reduced the cost of malaria drugs, which is probably the most pervasive disease around the world, by about 85%. They do micro-lending, which is one of the great things. The three things about Bill Clinton, who I love, his three greatest achievements in my mind was he stopped the genocide, he did the Human Genome Project, which is going to save our children and grandchildren, extend life by how in the Clinton Foundation. I think it is a terrific organization.
Let me ask you about Baton Rouge, because it didn't look good when the president was playing golf. He was in Martha's Vineyard. You had Hillary Clinton campaigning, $33,000 a plate or a picture, a selfie with her.
Right.
And then you had Donald Trump and Mike Pence. They stopped everything, and they went down to help those victims.
Right. Let's start. I saw, I just happened to run into James Lee Witt, who was President Clinton's FEMA director in Baldwin County. He said, we had a rule in the Clinton administration is the president didn't come till I told him all clear. Right. Because our governor told the president, I got people doing things. I really would prefer that you not come now because I don't want to take the people off. Donald Trump came. Thank you, Donald Trump. He gave $100,000 to a church in Greenville Springs, was very effective. Thank you, Donald Trump. The federal response, by everybody's estimation, has been superb. Thank you, Craig Fugate and FEMA.
Sure. But James, remember when George W. Bush was president, he just was lambasted by the press, including by Barack Obama, for not showing up.
Again, he came pretty soon after. I think the problem was the FEMA response during Katrina was less than stellar. Craig Fugate, by the way, was Jeb Bush's FEMA director in Florida. He is a professional disaster man. There's nothing about politics. And I think the view in Louisiana, and this is, by the way, thank you for bringing it up. It is a first-class tragedy. Sure. We have people that have lost their home, but our governor, whose brother's a sheriff, whose daddy was a sheriff, who's a West Point honor graduate, who's an Army Ranger, asked the president not to come till they could get the people.
Question in your book. What do you mean you're still right?
Well, I think if you look at from statistics, economic statistics, if you look at the climate argument, if you look at so many things, I think the Democrats have just proven to be substantially more right about more things over a long period of time. And that's the argument that I'm making in the book. And by the way, if anybody is interested in it, it's right here.
That's why he's here to sell the book.
Well, thank y'all for having me. I really do.
Every 15 minutes, Fox News headlines 24/7, Channel 115.
All right, let's talk campaign. She wants to be the next commander-in-chief. She does. But now we're learning an Army training presentation, good morning, sir, identifies Hillary Clinton as an insider security threat.
The slide that was used during a class on how to handle classified information.
Yeah, I'll take it from here because Anna Cormier wants me to introduce her. She's looking into what happened. Hey, Anna.
It's real, isn't it? My goodness. Well, Army officials say that the slide was the result of a rogue military member, but it was used during a portion of a class on how to handle classified materials and improve safety. Now, the unclassified slide was first discovered on a Facebook page that spoofs the military, but the Army confirmed it was part of a real presentation, and now even the mainstream media is covering it. The header says, "Who is the threat? insiders. And then Clinton's face appears next to killers like Major Nidal Hassan, Aaron Alexis, who shot and killed 34 people on 2 separate military bases, also pictured there. Classified secret leakers Chelsea Manning and Edward Snowden, along with retired General David Petraeus, who gave classified information to his biographer and mistress. The slide was developed 18 months ago, but it has since been removed. The Army says the local unit was given latitude to develop their own training products, and this particular presentation had not been reviewed and does not reflect the position of the military.
Well, you know, it kind of does reflect the position, though, of the FBI director, because when he said he wasn't going to be suggesting charges, it was because she had handled national security secrets in a careless fashion.
Right. I mean, he blatantly said that. James Comey blatantly said that. You're absolutely right.
And he said it was about intent. But still, she did all these things wrong. And if you're trying to teach someone how to secure documents,
Here's what not to do.
Chelsea Manning had great intent, too. Good point. All right.
Thank you, Anna.
So what's going to happen? They're just taking it out because it was that one unit that used it, right?
Yep, it was just, they say it was just a rogue military member that used it in a presentation, and then once they realized that it was in there, they yanked it and said they weren't happy with it. But it made it out there.
Well,
and it was
a lot of people agree with that slide, and they think that she could possibly have leaked information, or the enemy could have gotten information based on her carelessness.
Hey, Petraeus was on that, too. Right.
Thank you, Anna. All right, still ahead. Last night, before his town hall with Hannity, I got a one-on-one with Donald Trump, and I asked him about his immigration plan. Immigration, you're here to talk about immigration. We've met a lot of families that have lost their kids by illegal immigrants. What's your message, and when will you roll out your new immigration plan? He answers that question coming up.
And he plays a teen with superpowers on Disney's XD Labs Rats Elite Force.
Beautiful here in New York City. And once again, this hour brought to you by Gordon Food Service, just like yesterday's 8 o'clock hour.
In yellow cab.
That's right.
All right, well, last night I was in Austin, Texas. Sean Hannity had his town hall with Donald Trump. So I went up on stage afterwards to interview Hannity about what happened and what he thought and how it went. And he had a message for you guys and for the crowd that was still hanging out afterwards.
All right.
All right, Steve Ducey, Brian, or Ainsley? Who picks Ainsley? All right.
I
want to say hi to Brian and Steven, and here is
Steven? Oh, Steven, are you his mother?
Okay, Brian and Steve, and I watch the show, as you know, every morning,
Thank you.
Actually, he calls me Stephen James, just like my mother.
He does?
Right. Good man. And he is watching. Sean, thank you very much.
Well, you call your son's Peter, and you'll call Pete Hegseth Peter sometimes.
I do.
Yeah. I understand.
So you had this. You not only did you talk to Sean and interact with the people, you talked to somebody else.
Before the town hall, I got an exclusive with Donald Trump. Watch this. So a lot of people are saying you've had your best week yet. How do you keep it going?
I guess just keep doing the same thing. We're making a big speech in an hour that's going to be amazing. We have 15,000 people waiting, and it's been really an amazing period of time.
You're calling for a special prosecutor to investigate the connection between the Clinton Foundation and the State Department. Why is that important?
Well, just take a look at what's happening. This is out of control, what's going on with our country from the standpoint of justice and, what's supposed to be happening in law and order. And you look at all of these acts where she's 100% guilty. Everybody knows she's guilty. She knows she's guilty. She's lied all over the place. And it's almost like she can just do whatever she wants to do. I think it's so unfair. It's so bad for our country, Ainsley.
Now we're hearing someone with the Clinton Foundation, the COO, was making phone calls and left about 150 voicemails for the chief of staff with the State Department when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State.
I just heard that also. It's beyond belief. And all these people, first of all, they're not supposed to be setting up meetings. And when they set up the meetings, take a look at what's happening. Take a look at what is happening, whether it's Bahrain or wherever it may be. I guarantee they got a lot of things for this. Those meetings didn't take place to say hello. Those meetings were, they want to talk turkey. These people aren't there to say, gee, it's a wonderful day, the weather is beautiful. And you just follow up those meetings and things, or whether it's missiles or planes or maybe something personal. A lot of things happen from those meetings.
I went to Indiana on Thursday to interview Governor Pence and be with his family. And when I got off the plane, I had all these messages saying you guys were going to Baton Rouge, so we delayed our interview. I want to hear about that experience and what you thought about the president going 4 days later. Was he doing that because you set a precedent?
Well, he went very late. I mean, look, he could have left his golf game. He could have even played early. He could have played early and gone in the afternoon. I expected that would happen. And for him to say, I want to finish my whole vacation, who gets it? Look, who gets it? It's ridiculous. And now the waters are gone, the floods are gone. There's devastation. I mean, the people are amazing people. But those people deserve to have their president go a lot sooner than he went. And it certainly lost its impact. It was really sad. And it was to play golf. I mean, he wanted to play golf.
Right. Immigration, you're here to talk about immigration. We've met a lot of families that have lost their kids by illegal immigrants. What's your message, and when will you roll out your new immigration plan?
We're going to have very, very strong borders. We're going to have the wall 100%. Somebody was saying on one of the shows today that, well, maybe probably Trump won't build the wall. We're building the wall. The wall is going to be built. It's easy. And we're building the wall. We're going to have very, very tough standards. You come into the country, it's tough. And when you come in, by the way, from Syria and these places, this is really going to be tough. You know, Hillary Clinton's allowing thousands and thousands of people, and Obama, but she wants to have 550% more than Obama's allowing people to come in from Syria. We have no idea who they are. They have no paperwork. They have no nothing. We don't know what we're getting. Could be ISIS. We don't know what we're getting. So we're going to have a very strong border on the southern border. We are going to let people in, but they're going to come in legally, as I've been saying for a long time.
Good interview. He's absolutely right, because as we have told you on this program, when ISIS is rolled into different towns in Syria, they knock over City Hall and they take all the blank ones, and they take the passport printing machines. So the people who come from Syria, there's no expectation that those passports are true.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He also talked about the momentum going forward, because people were saying he's had the best week of his campaign so far and how happy he is with the new campaign team.
Yeah, and that allowed Hillary Clinton to be the story for the last 10 days,
right.
And she's provided a lot to talk about, and it's been leading our show. It's going to be fascinating when he finally comes out with his immigration plan, because in order to get the Hispanic vote, many people say the Hispanics that are here for 30 years, came here illegally, but have contributed to society, want a pathway. Yeah. And a lot of the Hispanic vote really hinges on that. Other people say, well, that shows you're flip-flopping and you sound more like Jeb Bush. It's going to be a tough thing. It's going to be threading the needle for the
Well, they have
Trump
said it's going to be fair and it's going to be humane. So
and they're going to build the wall. That he was absolutely emphatic
on. He said it's easy. All right, let's hand it over to Heather, who has some headlines for us.
It's Karl Rove. Karl's been following this election like nobody else. His analysis is invaluable. And you know him as the former deputy chief of staff of George W. Bush and Wall Street Journal, the FoxNews.com journalist. First off, over the last 2 weeks, Karl, I know you've been a tough critic of Donald Trump in the past. Do you think that they've gotten on track?
I think they're going more in the right direction, yeah. I thought he had a good week last week, giving speeches from teleprompter so he could drive home a message for that day. I thought the visit to Louisiana was entirely adroitly done. Low-key, focused on the people there, didn't try and make a big splash with it, and as a result, made a big splash with it. So sure. I think the new management team, at least Kellyanne Conway, seems to be moving things in the right direction.
Yeah. Karl, it came out today, 85 of the 154 non-governmental individuals who have access to Hillary Clinton while she was with the State Department, they were also giving money. They were donors to the Clinton Foundation. What was your reaction about this?
Pretty jaw-dropping, because realize this is only the first 2 years of her, only half of her term as Secretary of State, and half of the private individuals, more than half of the private individuals who show up are contributors to the foundation, and they gave over $150 million at least. And this is after, in January 2009, at her confirmation hearing, she promised the Senate Foreign Relations Committee that she would avoid even the appearance of conflict. And this strikes me as a big conflict, because these were, in some cases, pleading for self-interest. She appointed, for example, a guy who's a commodities trader in Chicago to a very select commission that has to do with nuclear proliferation and nuclear security issues. He was totally unexperienced, totally unqualified, and immediately was forced to resign. But what was he this year? He was a superdelegate for Hillary in Philadelphia.
Wow, what are the odds? Karl, right here outside 1 hour ago, we had James Carville on. Of course, he's been with the Clintons for decades. Yesterday, he said that, you know, if people stop giving to the Clinton Foundation, people will die. He also today defended the Clinton Foundation and talked about how the Clintons have never taken a penny. Listen to this.
The know Hillary and Chelsea Clinton have never taken a penny from the foundation. In fact, they've given them millions of dollars. The board of the foundation serves without pay. It is a 5-star rated foundation by Charity Watch. It is one of the best-run foundations in the world. Now, the idea that people are involved in the foundation are also involved with public-private partnerships around the world. That's one of the things that they do. So, of course, this does not count, as the list has pointed out, it doesn't count heads of state or people from government.
So he's got no problem because they're doing some good work, according to him, and Charity Watch.
Well, Charity Navigators, a group that evaluates charities, long ago criticized the foundations for spending too little on programs and too much on overhead, including some $40 million to move the Clintons around the country. Now, he may be right that they haven't taken a penny, but their lifestyle has been subsidized by this, and I believe Chelsea Clinton is actually now on the payroll of the foundation. Look, this is stinky. Sure, they do good things, but they do good things in a bad way and in a way that makes it sound like it's quid pro quo. Remember the Canadian uranium guy who gives several $100 million? He does so after Bill Clinton flies on his airplane to Kazakhstan in order to convince the Kazakh government to give him some concessions. And then, incidentally, he also buys a significant amount of uranium assets in the United States, all the while giving money to the foundation through a Canadian front group that can hide the names of all of the individual donors, even though she promised in 2009 to be completely forthcoming about every single donor to the foundation. Now, look, this provides too many opportunities for conflict, or at least the appearance of conflict, and either one of them undermines public confidence and trust in the president. If she's elected, they need to shut it down. No more using good works to subsidize their lifestyle and to put themselves in a place where it looks like a conflict of interest.
Carl,
it is a conflict of interest.
Carl, when you were talking, I just looked up for a second because it felt like it was raining for a second. It's actually a window washer machine about 45 or 50 stories up. So maybe we could turn a camera around and get a picture of that?
Yeah, we're not foaming at the mouth. It's the suds off the squeegee.
That's right. Anyway,
real quick, let's talk about Louisiana and the president showing up yesterday. Here it is 2 weeks later. He says it doesn't really matter that much, but you do remember how when he was a senator, he hammered your ex-boss, George Bush. Is he right? Yeah. It doesn't matter that much when you show up?
Well, it mattered a lot to him then. Bush was actively involved in everything connected with Katrina, pressuring the state and local officials to call an evacuation, talking to them constantly, organizing federal resources, going there 3 days after it happened. This current president then criticized him, saying it was, quote, passive indifference. Well, we've had this president, President Obama, was so critical in 2005, stay on his vacation, have at least 10 rounds of golf, spend a day at a private beach, go out 4 nights in a row out on the town, attend a Hillary Clinton fundraiser, and then after his vacation is over, he deigns to go to Louisiana and say, I'm here, your president. So I think passive indifference was not an appropriate remark to describe President Bush, but it is a good self-analysis for President Obama.
Sure, and Donald Trump was able to go down there. We tried to get some pictures of him at certain events, but he said, look, it's closed to the press because he didn't want to make it a campaign thing.
I thought that was well done. Incidentally, happy Waffle Day.
Thank you.
You may not know this, but waffles have a presidential connection.
What do you mean?
President William McKinley fell in love with his future bride, Ida Saxton, when he saw her eating chocolate chip? Creamed chicken on a waffle at Myers Lake in Canton, Ohio. First time he ever met her, and she was tucking it into it with such gusto that he fell in love with her and eventually married her.
Oh, fantastic.
Hey, is your book still available about William McKinley?
It is. The Triumph of William McKinley, available at Amazon.com or your local bookseller.
That's fantastic. All right. Carl, thank you very much for joining us from Austin, Texas today.
Thank you.
All right.
Artist.
Your name was? Mike Pence. Mike Pence. Yes, sir. I'm the governor of the state of Indiana. I'm running for vice president of the United States. Go ahead, man. Vice president? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, boy.
It's your shot of the morning. He is one of the most important politicians this election season, but despite being on TVs all across the country, the cute little barber there cutting Governor Mike Pence's hair had to ask who he was.
This all happening during Pence's visit to Norristown, Pennsylvania, and in front of a mass amount of reporters. You would think that he would have asked the reporters or the camera guys, now, why are you all in my barbershop?
Right.
He's got a job. He's got a job to do, but let's hope for his sake he wins over that barber because he needs Pennsylvania. You know, Pennsylvania. I wonder, and this we need to ask one of the reporters there, I wonder if Mike Pence left a tip and how much it was.
I'm sure he did.
Well, what's
Certainly
a good tip in Norristown?
Certainly he would. You saw his daughter over there watching. You know, he's such a humble guy. He's such a nice guy. He wouldn't care if the barber didn't know who he was.
Well, the good news is, in a place like that, you don't have to tip the shampoo girl because there is none.
That's right. Meanwhile, Donald Trump was out in Austin, Texas last night. He had a couple of town halls. He gave a big speech, and he polled the crowd. Watch this.
So the bad ones, the gang members, all them, what do you think? Does anybody disagree on the gang members? So now we have the person, 20 years, been an upstanding person. The family's great. Everyone's great. Do we throw them out or do we work with them and try and do something? Okay, ready? Ready?
How many say
Number one,
work with
Number
them?
one, we'll say throw out. Number two, we work with them. Ready? Number one.
Number
two.
No, work with them. Number two. Yeah, he said he's going to work with them. Yeah, so he says, the people here find a pathway to citizenship. A lot of conservatives say, oh, you can't do that. Jeb Bush was somebody who came out and said, yeah, let's find a pathway. So did George Bush, and they were not supported by the Republican Party. Maybe things are changing.
We'll have to see what he decides to do. That was at Sean Hannity's town hall. If you watched his show last night, part 2 is tonight. You have to stay tuned for that.
Yep.
I got a chance to talk with Donald Trump right before he went on stage with Sean. Take a listen. So a lot of people are saying you've had your best week yet. How do you keep it going?
I guess just keep doing the same thing. We're making a big speech in an hour that's going to be amazing. We have 15,000 people waiting, and it's been really an amazing period of time.
You're calling for a special prosecutor to investigate the connection between the Clinton Foundation and the State Department. Why is that important?
Well, just take a look at what's happening. This is out of control, what's going on with our country from the standpoint of justice and, what's supposed to be happening in law and order. And you look at all of these acts where she's 100% guilty. Everybody knows she's guilty. She knows she's guilty. She's lied all over the place. And it's almost like she can just do whatever she wants to do. I think it's so unfair. It's so bad for our country, Ainsley.
Now we're hearing someone with the Clinton Foundation, the COO, was making phone calls and left about 150 voicemails for the chief of staff with the State Department when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State.
I just heard that also. It's beyond belief. And all these people, first of all, they're not supposed to be setting up meetings. And when they set up the meetings, take a look at what's happening. Take a look at what is happening, whether it's Bahrain or wherever it may be. They got a lot of things for this. Those meetings didn't take place to say hello. Those meetings were, they want to talk turkey. These people aren't there to say, gee, it's a wonderful day, the weather is beautiful. And you just follow up those meetings and things, or whether it's missiles or planes or maybe something personal. A lot of things happen from those meetings.
I went to Indiana on Thursday to interview Governor Pence and be with his family. And when I got off the plane, I had all these messages saying you guys were going to Baton Rouge, so we delayed our interview. I want to hear about that experience and what you thought about the president going 4 days later. Was he doing that because you set a precedent?
Well, he went very late. I mean, look, he could have left his golf game. He could have even played early. He could have played early and gone in the afternoon. I expected that would happen. And for him to say, I want to finish my whole vacation, who gets it? Look, who gets it? It's ridiculous. And now the waters are gone, the floods are gone. There's devastation. I mean, the people are amazing people. But those people deserve to have their president go a lot sooner than he went. And it certainly lost its impact. It was really sad. And it was to play golf. I mean, he wanted to play golf.
Right. Immigration, you're here to talk about immigration. We've met a lot of families that have lost their kids by illegal immigrants. What's your message, and when will you roll out your new immigration plan?
We're going to have very, very strong borders. We're going to have the wall 100%. Somebody was saying on one of the shows today that, well, maybe probably Trump won't build the wall. We're building the wall. The wall is going to be built. It's easy. And we're building the wall. We're going to have very, very tough standards. You come into the country, it's tough. And when you come in, by the way, from Syria and these places, this is really going to be tough. You know, Hillary Clinton's allowing thousands and thousands of people, and Obama, but she wants to have 550% more than Obama's allowing people to come in from Syria. We have no idea who they are. They have no paperwork. They have no nothing. We don't know what we're getting. Could be ISIS. We don't know what we're getting. So we're going to have a very strong border on the southern border. We are going to let people in, but they're going to come in legally, as I've been saying for a long time.
And he has been saying that. So, Ainsley, he's given these one-hour speeches, one after another, in all the town halls. Any indication, because you've seen him this week?
When he sleeps, I don't know.
Is he exhausted?
He seems to be fine, and all of his staff says he can handle it, and they don't see him sleep. You know, it's amazing the stamina he has. I don't know. He does like 4 rallies, 2 town halls, 2 rallies, all in one night. It's
well,
crazy.
I think originally they planned on doing a big series of immigration speeches, and they cut that back. And Kellyanne told us a couple of days ago, this schedule was in place before I got here. Right. I'm thinning it out a little bit, so maybe that should be coming up next week. But this week he's smart to let Hillary Clinton's negative headlines be the story.
You're right. You're right. And that's why people say he's had the best week yet. Making her, she's the story and not him.
And he apparently has canceled a couple of events that were upcoming.
Yeah. Oregon, Nevada.
Right. The big question is, what's he going to do instead, if anything? Stay tuned. All right.
To be determined.
Indeed. All right. It is now time for some news, and for that we turn to Studio E and Heather Nauert. Heather.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. You know those EpiPens?